So if you're wondering what this video is, pretty much I just wanted to start a series with the intention of communicating more with my subscribers, as well as share my opinions on visual novels that I've been playing that I may not have time to make a video for, or simply just don't make a video for because I'm lazy, and I figured a vlog-like sort of video might be the best way to do that. So getting right into it, the visual novels that I started and finished this month include the Higurashi console arcs, and that would include Tadaima Washi, Tsukiotoshi, Someutsushi, Kageboshi, Yoigoshi, Tokihogushi, Miotsukushi Omote, Miotsukushi Ura, Kotohogushi, Hajisarashi, as well as the shorter ones also included in the console arc package, whatever you want to call it. So between all of these, more Higurashi is always good, I guess. A lot of them get a little bit repetitive. In the console versions of Higurashi, you have choices, and some of these arcs go branch off of the main 8 arcs. So for example, the first one, Tadaima Washi, it's pretty much what happens if Keiichi doesn't distrust his friends but also doesn't give a crap about the mystery, and pretty much nothing happens and it sucks, but nonetheless that was because of the choices the player made in the first chapter in the console version of Higurashi. There's a portion of these arcs, 4 arcs in particular, called the Advanced Series arcs, and I think these are probably what you want from the console arcs. The other arcs can be hit or miss for the most part. I really enjoyed Kotohogushi. That one in particular goes further into the backstory of a character that appears later in Higurashi, and it's really interesting and definitely my favorite of the bunch. I'd recommend playing these if you feel like more Higurashi, but if you've already played the first 8 chapters, especially recently, you might not be interested because it does get repetitive. I started and finished Slay the Princess, video in the description. Overall, I thought it was a really good psychological horror VN. It's really upfront on the Steam page about what you're getting. I think if somebody watched my review, they might think I've spoiled a lot of the game, but really if you look at the Steam page, they say all of what I said in my review and more. And another thing that I neglected to mention in my review is that it has really good voice acting. Typically, a lot of people find that indie visual novel voice acting can be a bit cringe, and I can't blame them because I've heard a lot of them that are less than ideal. But Slay the Princess does it pretty well, and it's probably the best indie visual novel I played this year, I think. Indie English visual novel. Yeah, let's go with that. I started and finished Aquarium, video also in the description. So it's a Hololive visual novel. A lot of people aren't going to be into that sort of thing. Whether or not the visual novel is about VTubers, which it's not, it's going to push away people who think that entire sort of thing is cringe, and I don't blame them. And fun fact, it's not the first Hololive visual novel. I got corrected in the comments actually. Sakura Miko released a couple years ago or something like that. Yes, it was called Sakura Iro Dreamer, and it was a really short visual novel available for a limited time. So I apologize that apparently my research was incomplete, but I mean, what can you do? It's such a short visual novel that was only available until 2021. So consider Aquarium the first full-length Hololive visual novel, I guess. I really do want to mention though that it is a good visual novel. It's not just some cringe VTuber project. The VTuber that stars in it, Minato Aqua, actually supervised for a lot of the development of it. It does have all the visual novel elements that a visual novel should have. And lastly, I got a comment from Ange asking if the visual novel would be good for non-Hololive fans, and I would say to an extent that it would be, because again, it's a good visual novel. It checks all the boxes that a good, maybe not a great, but a good visual novel has, or needs, I suppose I should say. The main problem is, and I mentioned in my reply to his comment, is that despite the fact that they're VTubers doesn't matter for most of the visual novel, it is referenced at one point in the story, and it's a pretty important point in the story, and I think It could maybe ruin the experience if you think that sort of thing is cringe going back to that again. But otherwise, I think it's a good visual novel. I wouldn't recommend it at its current price, but you can get it for $5, then yeah, sure, buy it. I started and finished Ginka. Ginka is currently all the rage. It's Frontwing's newest visual novel, and you can really tell, definitely Frontwing style sprites. I don't remember the name of their artist. I like the overall premise, but the pacing's a bit weird at times. I think because of how short it is, it takes a story that really should maybe be expanded upon, I guess, for maybe 20, maybe even 30 hours and pushes it down to 10. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Shorter visual novels are being produced more and more these days, but I do wish it was a little bit slower, I guess. I didn't really end up caring a lot about any character besides Ginka. It initially kind of felt like Summer Pockets. It has that same sort of intro, but the more you read, the more you can kind of tell that it's worse. I didn't dislike it, but I just don't really have a lot of good things to say about it either. I like the story, but pretty medium for me. Would recommend it if you have nothing else to read. So I started and did not finish Secret Agent, and I'm still not sure if I'm going to. Technically I started this one at the end of September, but it has an interesting initial premise with the main character being a ninja and infiltrating a school for one of his missions, but it just completely flops afterwards and gets just terribly boring. The common route is so short. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because character routes are what we're here for. But the character route, well, I only played one character route so far, and I didn't really like it. I played Canon's route, and Canon's sort of like the ninja-obsessed foreigner, and I thought her route was going to be the most interesting, but it was kind of bland. I started Kagura's route, and haven't really cared much about that either. I do plan on going back to do Yui's route, because the twin sister thing sounds dope, but besides that, I really don't feel like it's worth anyone's time. It's below average overall, and yeah, pretty unremarkable. Visual novels I continue to stall on include Saku Saku. If you haven't heard of Saku Saku, don't. It really is boring, and that's putting it lightly. I really had to force myself through the common route. The main premise, I guess, is that the main character is good looking and also a love guru of sorts while being, you know, inept with love himself. He meets a fairy, he does stuff for a long time, then eventually you make choices, and then you go down a girl's route. And whilst that's putting it lightly, it's just boring. At this point, I've completed most of the routes of the game. I've almost completed Mio's route. Boring. I completed Anne's route. Okay. I completed Yuri's route. Boring. I wanted her twin sister. And I've completed Konami's route. And this route's probably the best because it deals with incest drama. You know, people actually don't agree with their relationship, which makes sense. It's not bad, it's just not good. I've been trying to finish it since April, and every now and then I get a little bit of motivation to play for like 30 minutes, and then I'm just like, oh yeah, this is the kind of game it is, and then I give up and don't play it for another month. I'm still stalling on Angel Beats. I'm very interested in finishing Angel Beats, but I decided to choose this one as my first visual novel I'd read in Japanese, and that was inevitably a mistake because it seems to be more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I'm still interested in it, but I'm stalling it for now simply because it's hard to read. It takes a long time translating Japanese and figuring out what the hell everyone's trying to say. When I have more time for myself, I do plan on going back and reading it, but it hurts my brain. Now, my plan for this series is to end the video there, just talk about the visual novels I've been playing, probably in more detail than I have been, but I have a few more things I'd like to talk about since I've been gone for so long. For one, my channel. I'm back. Hi. My general approach to content is very impulsive. I'm not good at planning out a schedule set of videos because I don't like feeling like I need to do something, I guess. But when I read a visual novel and I'm like, this needs a video, and maybe it just came out, or maybe there's not a lot of videos on it, I will just make a video, do it all in one day, probably spend the entire day on it. That's it. That's usually my approach to content creation. Probably not very good, but that's how we do it. And the other thing I'd like to mention is that my end goal for this channel is to drive clicks through myself and not the visual novels I'm reviewing. I guess that sounds conceited, but maybe you've noticed I recently changed my profile picture down there to my face. I want to bring personality to reviews in a way that only I can do so, rather than just churning out reviews quickly, which is ironically what I have recently did with my last 2 reviews the last couple of days, but I digress. And I'm also planning a couple of different style videos than reviews. Specifically, I'm wondering if people are interested in visual novel recap videos rather than reviews, whereby I just go over the story with commentary. Now, of course, I wouldn't do this for popular and extremely long visual novels, because not only would that take me forever, you most likely want to read it yourself, but I'm more so interested in doing it on maybe smaller joke visual novels, like some set of Toho visual novels that I currently own and have read, as well as a visual novel called The Expression Amrilato, which is a visual novel that aims to teach you Esperanto while also being a Yuri visual novel, which is an extremely niche visual novel, and I feel maybe it would be better to do a visual novel recap on that rather than a review, because I can say right now I do like the visual novel, but it just seems like something not a lot of people want to really read. I mean, Yuri is already, it's not necessarily niche in the visual novel niche, but a lot of people aren't going to read it because of that, as well as the Esperanto thing. And this visual novel goes hard on it. Like, this is an isekai where the protagonist does not learn all of the language at once. There's no freaking goddess who's like, phew, and gives the protagonist the language. You don't understand crap. So you do have to kind of pay attention to the words. There is a protagonist translation for what they have learned up to the point of the story, which is really cool. But something like that is it's a commitment. And I can tell you that it hurts your brain when you're reading English, hearing Japanese, and learning Esperanto all at the same time. Lastly, there's a couple of videos that I plan on returning to that I happened to just disappear last time on you guys on. I did not make. King Koi. I promised that visual novel July or something. That apparently did not happen. I say apparently, evidently, and I'm sorry about that. I just kept delaying and rewriting the script, and then I realized, I don't really like this script either, and I kind of just stopped. I still do plan on making a video on it, but at this point I'm almost thinking I should wait until I play the fan disc. The fan disc is called Golden Time, I think? Yeah, Golden Time. Because I mean, at this point, what's another few weeks or a few months? And I'd rather give a full entire review of the whole thing than just the non-fan disc portion. Mostly because I am interested in the fan disc, unlike a lot of other visual novels that I've read. I feel like you guys deserve a very long video for my absence. Another video I was going to make is my indie visual novel review video. I made a video, I think it was titled something like why your indie visual novel is bad or something like that, and then I asked developers at the end to send me their games. I did get visual novels, okay? A decent amount of them actually, and it's not like I haven't been reading them. I might not be making videos, but I have been reading them, and I do want to make that video because I think it would be interesting. And also maybe you guys can find a visual novel that you might be interested in. A lot of people here don't really like indie English visual novels, so probably not. But anyway, if you watch this entire thing, I thank you. I don't know what video I plan on doing next, actually. I could do a video on Ginka. I'm not entirely thrilled about it, so I might not. But nonetheless, I'll see you in the next video, which should hopefully be within a couple of days. Famous last words. See you in a year. Bye.